Okay, so I got the hairs done, and what I feel like is probably the last of the current arrangement. Um, Talked on here for a little while about how I kind of am over the time with my mother on that end. And yes, I'm glad and thankful that she does it or has been able to do it. But still, with that, it always feels like it's transactional because she helped me with this. Now I owe her something, and like I don't have a problem with that kind of. If it didn't feel obligational, it would be easier to go along with doing things for the sake of being nice. But since it feels like it's somehow owed now because there was any kind of assistance one way or another, it's just kind of a pain in the ass, honestly. Um, but because we do holidays in a grand way now, um, my cousin and I were talking at her mom's house that, I mean, the last several holidays have been kind of jacked up. I talked about how my grandfather, of course, the man that spent at least 33 years of my life making sure that every birthday or holiday or any other event that we had together was consumed with somehow being preoccupied with talking of his death and worrying about his death and how this, that, or the other thing was going to kill him. And he had been in the hospital before Thanksgiving, but then, of course, just because it's the way healthcare works, if the hospital and the nursing home both would have done it. Since he was on the verge of being ready to be released to the other one, the hospital kind of pushed it along since the holiday was going to be in there, right? So he ended up going back to the nursing home / rehab place on, I think, the day before the day before Thanksgiving. And then we were all supposed to do Thanksgiving at the rehab place so he could be included in it, right? And what ended up happening was he ended up back in the hospital. I don't know, something, he wasn't breathing well on his own or something. Basically it was what led to the conversation with my mother of where I pushed her to realize at some point it had to be okay for that man to die because, she was literally staying there all night, every night while he was in the hospital. And what I believed was happening, and even more so with the way everything worked out, was that she is basically just giving all her life force to him and trying to keep him alive. And then when she wasn't there to sustain him overnight and, just being there, because she said there were several times he would wake up in the middle of the night and say her name just to make sure she was still in the room. And then, okay, and go back to sleep. And it's like she wasn't able or supposed to be able to do or have any kind of time of her own life or anything. So yeah. So I think she was just literally pouring all her life force into making him feel like he had to be around, or making him whatever, however you want to think of that, I guess. Literally pouring it all out so he would last a little bit longer. But then, because she wasn't staying while he was at the nursing home, it just kind of proved that his body wasn't able to keep him alive. So, it was literally just sucking the life out of everybody else at that point. Which, my personal viewpoint is that's pretty much what my life was dedicated to, was nobody else is supposed to have any kind of life because our life was to be poured into keeping him alive forever because, I mean, he just couldn't die. That was just like the worst thing ever, right? It's like, so for 33 years I mourned the man's death, and then in August, after I realized, I woke up crying one morning and having this conversation with him in my head. It's like, I have literally mourned your death for 33 years and you're not dead yet. So at that point, you know, he'd gotten switched over to the other rehab place, and I was just like, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm done with any of that. And I absolutely believe it was pretty noticeable pretty quick. And just like, you know, especially like as I was talking to my brother and telling him what I was noticing all along the way, because last year in January-ish, I think, was when I really started setting boundaries and pulling my energy back and really putting forth the effort to not just I mean, I was never supposed to have a life with the whole the family that I was born into. It was literally just, I was supposed to exist to keep the old people alive longer. It's like, that's no kind of existence. That's how you get to be 41 years old and have nothing to show for it. I will say, however, this is the 200th video that I've done for YouTube, so I am kind of proud of that one, to be honest. Especially when I hit the 1-year anniversary of having started the thing, which was November 11th, this past fall, 2024. That was the 1-year anniversary, and I was at 12 subscribers, and I think I had like 80 some videos at that point in time. And I was like, I wonder if I could get to 100, I said, I bet I could get to 100 by the end of the year. It's like, well, of course. And then I got to thinking about it. It's like, I bet I could do it within the month. And I started making it more of a regular thing. And here we are. It is April 20th, 2025, and this is my 200th video. So, and I mean, technically, I've done more, but I didn't post all of them, and there were a few along the way that I originally posted and then didn't repost after I had to take the intermission so I could take a step back and settle with the fact that I'd expanded far beyond what I thought I was capable of, you know, or what I was supposed to have been capable of. So yeah. Going back to that hair point. Oh, yeah, that's why. Don't mind me. Okay, so, you know, like, when my grandfather ended up back in the ER on Thanksgiving, it was just kind of like, here we go again. It's like, literally, every birthday and holiday and everything, anything else that there was a get-together or whatever, if he could find the way to make it about his death, he was going to make it about his death. So it makes sense that Thanksgiving, he would end up back in the hospital on the verge of death, right? Didn't die then, because of course my mom went back to staying all night at the hospital all the time. And it was from Thursday to Sunday, because I had the conversation with her on Sunday, and then he ended up back home on Monday and died on Tuesday, I think. Whatever day December 3rd was, that was the day he passed away. I think that was a Tuesday. But anyway, of course, Christmas was still kind of dominated by the fact that he wasn't there anymore, right? So there was that. But then, you know, I've talked about how I'm confident my cousin's baby is my grandfather reincarnated. And it even goes back to that point of being born on my cousin's 30th birthday. It's like, so it's like it's literally just this pattern is continuing. And I will say it again. I feel like the chords in the family, because of the sort of toxic dynamic of you have to, pour everything you have out to keep the older generations around longer because we don't know how to exist without them or whatever the fuck is going on. That and my cousin gave her baby my grandfather's first name as a middle name. It's like, I feel that like that's just literally just, whoop, come back. We're not done with you yet. Now, here we are. And I've talked about how I've had like no interest in, like, I'm happy for my cousin and her husband, but I really have no desire to be around the baby. And I think a big part of it too is it's something else the family's trying to use to pull me back in, because I'm supposed to be excited that there's a new blood in the family, right? And I'm just, no. I'm used to the energetic vampire system sucking the life out of me, and I'm not trying to do that. My uncle today, I stayed outside for the most part on the back porch. They have these little rocking chairs out there, and I was enjoying those. They're like little glider things, but individual chairs, whatever. But anyway, I sat out there and rocked the whole time. Went in, got food, went back out. Initially, I was sitting at the table in the spot that my grandfather used to sit in. And it was mainly because it was out of the way. He was used to everybody waiting on him hand and foot. I just like to not be around other people and not have, especially the family members that don't have any concept of boundaries. That I don't want them touching me. I don't want anybody touching me, to be honest. It's like, I feel like that's one of those things I've always been kind of sensitive about. And it's like, my family, I don't want them to hug me. I don't want them to touch me. I don't want them to pat me on the back. I don't want any of that stuff. I want them to leave me the fuck alone. And some of them have a hard time with that. My uncle, that I've talked on here many times about, he was walking out towards me. He's the one that's the worst on boundaries and doesn't know like boundaries. And he always wants to touch you and pat you on the back. And how's my pretty niece doing? All that shit. The creepy uncle stuff. And he was like, okay, I got there before everybody else. I knew it started at 2. My parents left like a quarter after 1 to go get my grandma from next door. And when I left, it was like a quarter till 2. And they were still over at my grandma's house. My cousin's car was over at my aunt's house. I was like, I'm gonna get there ahead of everybody. Sure enough, it's like, well, I'm not parking in the driveway because if I want out, I want out. I don't want to be stuck. I brought my skate stuff so I could just go disregard my dirty socks in the bag. But I brought my skate stuff, and as soon as I was done over there, I came over here and skated. It's 7 miles. And going back to my numbers, it was I don't remember exactly how long I skated. It was over an hour. But like the last 3 numbers on the time when I hit the button on my app was 3:33, and that it rounded up after I committed to being finished. But yeah, the 3:33 was there for a minute, and then ended on 719 calories, which that's one of my Tyler numbers. So yeah. Anyway, when I was at my aunt's house, I parked behind my cousin because both my cousins park alongside the road so everybody else can park in the driveway. And So I pulled behind one cousin. And of course, the whole driveway was clear because I don't want to get stuck. And I sat there for a while, and it was a while before anybody else got there. Thinking I was in the car for like 20 minutes. Like, well, it took me like 5 minutes to get over there, but then it was like 15 minutes beyond that before people showed up. But my uncle starts walking towards me, and I made it kind of clear I just like was giving him extra room because I did not want him close to me. And kind of went yeah, he got the hint, I think. And I don't even remember what he said when I got up there, but he didn't touch me because I was a little further away, but he was all set to, had I not moved, or like intentionally steered clear of him. But going back to that holiday thing that I wasn't done with. So my mom did my hair last night, and yeah, I think okay, it doesn't look as bad as it did. Right through here, it was like it didn't want to come off my scalp all the way, but it looks like it has mostly done so now. So we finished my hair. Okay, before we even get to that point, while she's doing my hair, she's trying to pull me back into the friendly conversations that, she always does. And talking about, there was some stuff with my brother, and I honestly was kind of tuning her out because I'm not trying to get in the middle of his stuff. And especially not with her. And, she did at one point say that she really hoped he and Gracie would go camping with them at least once. I was like, you already got everything out of the camper. Why would you do that? And she's like, yes, I know. I was very much in the middle of that. Kind of like one of those little snarky jabs because I didn't help with that project. She's like, well, we'd only put back in whatever we need for the camp or for the weekend, but then we could take it back out when we got back. Other glitch, they're supposed to be selling the camper, but my dad apparently lost the title to it already, and he had it at one point, and I don't know if supposedly he put it in a glove box of some sort, and it is MIA, so yeah. But yeah, so there's drama on that end. But then she was wanting them to go camping with them. It's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I can confidently say that's not going to happen. And also, I mentioned to my brother that she had said that. And me, him, and his wife were all just like, because we know what that is. That's the wife is going to be gone. So she's going to try to rope my brother into her doing what he's supposed to, cater to her needs and her emotional instability or whatever, and make him feel sorry for her so he feels obligated to do this, that, and the other thing that I'm not doing anymore, because I started pushing back and setting boundaries. And wasn't exactly sure on any of it what was going to come from it. But, okay, before that, I went and took a shower last night and washed the stuff out of my hair. And when I got back to the kitchen, I saw her on her phone, and she had something with Venmo up. And I was like, I said, you just bought a dog, didn't you? So, the puppy is on its way. So, yeah. And I've talked a lot about on here that I want to get out before they bring a puppy in, because I know they're going to use that to try to rope me in. Because, puppies, like the whole house breaking thing. If it pees on the floor, You know what? I don't know that I will clean it up if it's in like one of the main areas because it's their damn puppy. Their dog is a pain in the ass, Peppy, about she will occasionally go in my room or in my office and pee on the floor. Like, because she's kind of annoyed that, I brought my dogs in. But yeah. So it's like, well, if it's not in my space, why do I want to have to do that? Now, see, we used to have this rule where if you found it, you had to clean it up. And I feel like since I've been very vocal about not wanting a puppy, it's like we still have 4 dogs in the house. It's not like there's a shortage. But since I've been vocal about not wanting a puppy, because I don't want to have to do the training and the things that I know they're going to expect me to do just because I've always been inclined to do them because I like dogs better than people. At the bare minimum, I like the dogs we've had in the family way better than my family. And I've talked about a big part of that was because they didn't make fun of my sensitivity, like the fact that I can get emotional easy and, cry at the drop of the hat half the time. And, it's like whatever got me made fun of by the family, it's like the dogs never made fun of me for it. So it's like, why wouldn't I like them better? So, yeah. Anyway, last night she said, yes, but she told them they can't get, or she told the lady she can't get it until May 1st. But they put the deposit down. Today I came in from walking the dogs, and she and my dad were talking. No, she turned her attention to me when I walked in. She said, do you know if we have any collars or harnesses for a puppy, or that would fit a puppy? It's like, what did you do? I already know they were talking about the puppy. She was talking about some sort of, she got a PetSmart gift card or something, and she's getting ready. Apparently, we have moved from May 1st, which I think is Thursday of next week, to next Sunday or Monday. And that's pretty much what I responded with. Just sighed and walked away. It was like, for fuck's sake. And I think I did say that too. So yeah. So there's that. Back to the chaos today of Easter. I was sitting on the back porch. My cousin would occasionally come out and visit. My aunt came out at one point. My dad was out there a couple times. And Gracie every now and then. I heard a bunch of talking in the front yard. Didn't hear anything about what was going on. I just heard voices. I heard my mom was out there. I knew that. I heard my uncle, not the one who lived at the house, not the creepy one that I was already talking about. Yeah. And my cousin comes back and has her dog on a leash and is talking about, my mom fell off the step and they think she broke her wrist. Because of course. It is like clockwork if I spend time with my mom or my grandmother. Something is going to come up. As soon as we spend time together, something is going to come up. Like the last time I went in over at my grandma's house, I think I got asked basically to babysit her for a little while because the painters were there. And I don't know. Anyway, I did for a couple hours because my aunt had something she was doing and my mom and dad had doctor's appointments, so they couldn't be there, and the other aunt was working. So I went over and sat with my grandmother, and I had my headphones on most of the time and was watching stuff on YouTube. But my grandmother was thrilled to death that I was there, because that means some kind of access to my energy, because I am in some capacity, I am there. That means I'm supposed to be available. Was it that night? I'm pretty confident it was that night. At like 3:30 in the morning, I get a phone call, and it's my grandmother. And she tried calling my mom twice and couldn't get a hold of her. So she called me because she fell on a bunch of stuff, and she doesn't know what she fell on, but she's pretty sure she's bleeding from her hand and she can't get up and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. So, of course, we got up and went over there, and she fell on a box that had like pictures in it, not frames. So luckily there was no glass in it or anything, but still pictures. And it's like, just like that, because I spent the couple hours over with her all at once, that means I'm available. That means she can access my energy in some kind of way. That means they can get something out of me, right? So here we go again. But at least my hair's done. And I really like how it turned out this time. This is a new color. This chocolate cherry kind of color. Like unicorn brand or something. But I'm kind of partial to it. And this is what, orchid unot. Strawberry leopard, I think. But yeah, I kind of like how it turned out. So since it's, definitely most likely to be be the last time while she's broken anyway, at least we got it done before she got broken. But then it makes sense that we spent the time together, so of course she got broken. And of course on a holiday, because I told my brother and my sister-in-law, I was like, I feel like she's trying. Okay, I don't think most of them have the awareness to realize this is what's going on, because this is all like at the energetic level that this stuff is happening. It's like, because I gave up my time, then here's this thing that happens, and now they think they have an in, so this other thing is going to happen, and it's like you can just literally just watch the pieces, and it's like, I don't think they have the cognizant awareness of what's going on. But I'm sure if I started calling it out way more, then they would probably not be able to deny it. And I will periodically call some things out, but not a whole lot. Probably not near as much as I should be. But at the same time, it's like I'm trying not to engage, trying to keep to myself so I can go be peaceful and do my own thing. It's looking like it wants to storm, and I think it did say it was going to around 7:45-ish, and it is 7:35-ish. 29%. Okay, I'm still gonna do my video. I'll have to loop around to get back home. Dogs will be alright for a little bit. Besides, it could just be rain. We don't know that there's a storm in that. So, yeah. But yeah, so that's how Easter ended today, was my mother broke her wrist. And yes, my dad took her to the ER, and it is confirmed she did break her wrist and is going to need surgery, but that's out for like a week or so anyway, so they're still supposed to go on their trip tomorrow. They better go on their trip tomorrow. I have that little one-on-one thing tomorrow, and I do not want them home for that. If they are still home, I will probably go to the cemetery and have it there and not have them anywhere near, because I don't want to talk to them about anything like before or after. I just don't. I don't want their toxic, icky energy in my system. I don't want to have more to... See, I don't want to have more to clear out. Basically, last night, after I spent the time with my mom, I got on Instagram, and there was something with the same thing, but there was just this wash of anxiety that hit me, and it's like, this is why we didn't want to spend time with them. Remember that? This is why we were going to avoid them at all possible costs and skate as much as possible all last week before, leading up to the thing when they were going to leave, and I wouldn't have to be around them that way. But then my hair looks good, so, so I'm going to be happy with that. But, yeah, there's like just that time with her, and then, I took a shower, apparently didn't use enough salt, and didn't clear all that icky mom energy out of my system. Because, then something popped up and I see this little thing that makes me think about it, and then I get just this wash of anxiety and almost dread, and it's like, I don't want this in my system. I don't want to talk myself out of doing the thing that I already paid to do, that I'm still looking forward to, because I spent time with my mom's icky energy and it's like invading my space. Luckily, I don't know, it was looking like there's some clearer spots over there, so it's like, is it stormy, or I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, yeah. But last night, it's like, yep, how are we getting this out of my system, and I was going through some things, and asking for assistance from the universe is basically the big thing. It's like, I don't want to take this anxiety into any part of this thing that I'm looking forward to and also terrified of at the same time. Okay, I went to the comedian on Friday, and that makes some more things make sense, actually. Okay, so I went and saw the Luke Severide on Friday, went by myself, had fun by myself, and I'm all about, merch and supporting the artists, be they comedians, musicians, whatever the hell, I'm all about that. So I had the money to do it, so I was going to go do it. But then I'm standing in line, right? And I was probably like the fourth one in line, third or fourth. And it was just that feeling, the anxious feelings, like, I'm going to have to talk to him. I am not good with talking to people, like actual human people. Like, okay, I can talk to my phone. Look, it's my picture. Whoop-de-doo. I can talk to the phone now. That doesn't hurt me. But the idea of having conversations with actual humans is still terrifying. The ones that I don't know anyway. Like my cousin, I can talk to her. That's not a problem. My brother, obviously. And his family. And I can tolerate talking to the rest of the family to an extent. But, yeah. But then, I go to this thing. Okay, first, I feel like my energy I don't know. Okay. This was a noticeable thing that happened back at the Five Finger Death Punch and Marilyn Manson concert back in August, right? I am sitting in general admission by myself because I didn't have anybody to go with me. And perfectly enjoyed it. It was fabulous. So, yeah. While I'm there, there's a bunch of people in the grass around me, right? And as it starts clearing out, before it got all the way through, because I think there were some people that left after the earlier bands, or maybe they just moved locations in the space. But I started noticing it's like people started moving farther away from me, which I don't have a problem with that by any means, except for, it gets to a point when you're just standing there kind of isolated and there's still a ton of people around, but they're 25, 30 feet away at any of the angles. It's like, I feel like there's something with my energy. And then, like, when I got to the place on Friday, it was kind of the same thing, except for, obviously, you know, it's just like rows of like 4 chairs, 2 rows on 4 chairs, so like 8 across altogether, with a little aisle in the middle to walk through. And first off, love the venue, Monsterz Inc. in Irvington, super cute. I got there and I was like on my way in, or like to the place. I was like, okay, so like maybe I'll go, maybe I'll find a bathroom before I go, so then I can sit and not have to get up again, right? And not have to worry about leaving my sweatshirt behind or losing my chair, kind of a thing. And I get there, I find a seat, and then I happen to look up, and I'm like 5 feet away from the bathroom. It's like, oh, hey, that's convenient. So, yeah. But yeah, like, as people filled in, it's like they were like way far away, you know, until somebody finally sat at the other end of the row, because I was on one end, and then she sat, like, there were 2 seats that were open in the middle, and then she sat on the other end. And at one point there was a girl that did sit behind me, and that row ended up being full, but it took a while. And the row in front of me, like, nobody sat there until lots of the other places were filled up already. So it's like, I kind of feel like there's, like, I kind of have a little bit of an energetic bubble where people are prone to giving me more space. Not depending on how crowded it is and depending on what else is going on. But I feel like that's usually what happens, is I end up kind of isolated in a way. And it's not a bad thing. It's just all at once when I realize that nobody's standing around me, and it's like, this is kind of weird. But yeah, so that's something that happens, so that's always fun. But then, you know, since I'm all about supporting the artists and whatnot, and I went and I got a shirt and a sticker, and God, it just pained me so much. He was funny. I liked his show. But it's like, the idea of talking to another human is terrifying. And luckily, because, you know, I didn't know what to say, and yet I felt like I should say something, because I just stood in line to go over to this dude and to buy a shirt and whatnot. And it just, I don't know, it feels awkward, just, large shirt, please, and leave. But, yeah. So, the girl in front of me, she was there with her husband. She happened to ask for a picture. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I can, like, have a picture of that I was here. And, well, I mean, I took a picture by myself, but that's always awkward, especially when I'm taking a picture of myself and I know there are other people in the space. It's like, I always am really awkward with the picture. So, yeah, so it's like, okay, so maybe it'll be a decent picture. Okay, first off, if you're like me, and you have your phone on, like, the darkest settings all the time, it's probably okay. You should probably turn the settings up before you go to take a picture. He held the button down and everything. It was a little blurry. It wasn't too bad, but it's like, I feel like if I didn't have my phone practically on sleep mode, because I don't like a whole lot of bright light staring at me, that it probably would have turned out better. But whatever, it is what it is. So, yeah. But, you know, I posted the pictures on Instagram and Facebook. And on Facebook, because I said I went to see this show by myself, right? Because that's how I said, because that's what I do these days. And, oh God, a lady that my mom used to work with, her son was a year ahead of me in school. And really, his birthday is like within a week of mine. I think the week before. Yes, because because with July birthdays, you know, back when you could go either be one of the oldest in your grade or be one of the youngest in your grade. And okay, I flunked preschool because I wouldn't talk to anybody. So my parents had a meeting with the elementary school principal to talk about if I was going to go into kindergarten or if I was going to take another year of preschool. And did really great on all the tests and everything, and smart on all that end. But when it came time, like, he was talking, I think, to my parents, I think what the story was as they were talking, I went over and kind of hid behind my mom, and that was kind of what he's like, let's give her another year. Because it was like, just like the social anxiety aspect of just everything that I am, and I'm all my cancer placements I like to hide. And something I was thinking about for tomorrow, it's like I keep prepping myself, it's like to anticipate that I'm just awkward because I'm just an awkward human, and that's how I am these days, right? It was like, that's how I've kind of always been. And sometimes better than others. But yeah, I think that more so goes back to not being around safe energies, and like my family, I was never a safe energy. So I feel like I was always kind of backwards, if you will, because there was never really a safe space to be. So I didn't really know how to be, and especially once my life started teaching me that that I was too much for people, like my mom and my grandfather, and all getting made fun of for being sensitive and how different I always was and all this shit. Like, it's like, my mom, even in recent years, has wanted to laugh about how when I was like in first grade, she said I would find something that had like this much of a color on it in an outfit. Like, it was something that, okay, if it had this much green on it, I was matching something to that green. It's like, y'all. It's just how I am. That's not a problem. Because look, seriously, this is how colorful I am. And the matching to this little bit of color is literally how I picked my makeup today. Because there's pink on my pants and, pink, orange, and yellow, which you can't really see all those colors now. But obviously, I got orange and yellow in the shirt, but not the pink. But the pink is there. So it's like, and it's in my hair too. So it's like, it's not new. I just always got made fun of for it. And that's, okay, apparently it is Uranus square my Venus in Leo. I thought it was conjunct. I don't really know the difference. I don't know all of the astrology stuff. I just know that the thing that talks about, well, the last time I looked at it, it was Uranus square my Venus in Leo. And I don't know, maybe, no, it's for how I am. Because it talks about how, this is the pattern app. I don't even remember all the details, but I know, like, one of the things that talks about how is I'm meant to stand out and basically be set apart in some kind of a way. And if it's because I look like the crayon box exploded, then by all means, damn it. I don't care. I like my color. But where was I going with that? Oh, the pattern app. It says, if you are trying to conform to others, something about unnerving others if if I try to be something different or, try to conform where I'm not supposed to conform, y'all. I'm supposed to be bright and colorful, damn it. Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe I'll include some of that info in the description, what it says about it, because it's so on point for me. But then, like, even thinking about how this is how I've always been in my life, because that was, my birth chart when I was born. This is the chart that's me. My personality in a nutshell. And yeah, so then she's like making fun of how I pick like the little bit of green and match to that. And it's like, it's not new. I mean, purple earrings and, my purple is there, of course, and my hair as well. And I got nails today. I don't usually play in nail polish, but for some reason I did. And had I not added the glitter when I was getting ready to leave, I probably wouldn't have messed any of them up. Although they really don't look too bad for that being the case. I did mess a couple of them up. But it was like wet enough that I could mush it kind of back down, and somehow it doesn't have the lines all through it from my fingerprint. Which, I mean, I'd have to show it pretty close for it. They're not great, but and I didn't clean them up. Like, I don't clean my nails up very well. Like, after I paint them, I kind of leave it like, okay, like right there. It's kind of on the skin. It'll come off when I take a shower. That's my method of fixing it. But yeah. But I was looking at how, like, these different, like, shades in here are also in the pants. So I was having fun with this today. It was like, I didn't even notice that until I was over at my aunt's house sitting outside, and it's like, I kind of like how that turned out. I sat down and my cousin looked at me and said, "You're very colorful." It's like, well, it's not really different than normal, but I mean, just, it always looks more so when the hair's fresh. But yeah. I had a comment the other day on here that it was kind of annoying me when I was skating. And not because it was a bad comment or anything. Somebody asked about what I do for boundaries, and I said that part of my assistance on the boundary end of things is pretty rocks, right? And I don't have them on because... Okay. So, silly story. This is all my jewelry today. This is a doggy bag that I opened the roll today, and it had a sticker on it, and the sticker ripped the bag, and it's like, well, I don't want to get poop on me. So I wasn't going to use it for that. And then I was, I had all my bracelets and my necklaces on and everything when I was over at my aunt's house. Because if I'm going to be around family, I'm going to protect my energy as much as I possibly can. So I was like, oh, hey, I have this bag with a hole in it. It's like the middle of the bag. So if it had dog poop in it, it would probably be a problem. But since it's just bracelets and stuff, I can carry that in and it won't be an issue. But yeah, like she commented about, you should have faith in God, or put your faith in God and not the pretty rocks or whatever. It's like, okay. She never responded to my comments, so that's good. Because I didn't want to hear back from her, to be honest with you. But I was like, I have plenty of faith in God. That's not the problem. I said, if you're wanting me to have faith in the God that the church preaches about, then we're going to have some disagreements on that. And I said, the way I view God is in and through everything, and nothing exists that God is not also a part of. Because because that's just what I believe, right? So that goes to God is in other people, God is in animals, plants, and yes, even the pretty rocks. And then I'm thinking about like the Nordic Light Tarot reading I watched several months back where she was talking about, she said it's like you're going on a journey to collect parts of yourself, like you've left little pieces of yourself scattered around and are trying to collect those again. And it kind of makes me think about like that point. It's like, just, like, because we are learning how to exist apart from the whole, we have to also have things to remind us of the connection, right? So, yes, my pretty rocks. And they do help me with my boundaries and with being more mindful about energies that I don't want attaching to me. And, I've talked about the red jasper is the one that made me realize that the rocks work, because my ex brought that damn doll in that he bought off eBay because it said it was like possessed by a demon or something. It's like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm not a big fan of the idea. And he did not talk to me about it ahead of time. So he buys this thing, and then like a little while later, it definitely changed the energy in the house. And like, he was a lot more volatile and not nice. And I don't think it did anything beyond enhance what was already there, because he had a lot of it's the hostile energies. They were already a part of him. Like, that was already the connection. It wasn't safe, wasn't healthy, it was extremely toxic from day one. It just made it so it was kind of less deniable. And so I have this dream, and I'll just tell you. So the dream, okay, before the dream, I had gone to bed, and it was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the 3:30, I think, 3:30 in the morning. I got startled awake because I heard the Xbox kick up. And my former stepson was all about his Xbox. That was all he ever wanted to do. And I thought he had snuck into the living room and was getting on the Xbox when he hadn't talked to us about it. So I thought he was just kind of sneaking extra time in, right? And loud, startled me awake. Well, because we didn't really trust him, because his mom coerced him into lying about like everything frequently. My former in-laws had gotten us some cameras for inside the house, because we needed to be able to keep everybody safe, right? So I got startled awake at like 3:30 in the morning. It's like, all right, thinking the kid's in there. I go into the camera app and check the living room. It's like, there's nothing going on in there. It's completely black because it's dark. All the lights are out. And, when I turned the camera on, it had like a red light, I guess. And like, what I saw was the cat sitting there in the recliner licking her belly. It's like, that was the extent of what was going on. And it's like, that's weird. So, I mean, this was actual thing that happened, right? I got startled awake by the Xbox and then find out there's nothing going on in there. So, all right, well, just hearing things, I guess. So I roll over and, go back to sleep, and didn't really feel like I was asleep, I guess. I turned my head in the direction, I've been facing the other way, and I turned my head in the other direction toward my ex, and I had my hand on the pillow like this for some reason. And I see this stupid doll, this demonic doll that he bought off eBay, laying next to me with its plastic head and its little plastic head in my hand and its little sticker eyes looking at me. I could feel the Cabbage Patch plastic in my hand, y'all. And that scared the shit out of me. And then I realized that I had apparently been dreaming. It's like, okay, that's creepy. What does all that mean? Because the supposedly demonic doll is suddenly in the bed, and I would not have put it past my ex to like set that up, but it wasn't actually there. When I woke up, it wasn't there, but I could still feel it. And it was like, I mean, that's a unique plastic feeling, and it's just like even just thinking about it now. So anyway, because that whole experience creeped me the fuck out, we had gone to New Orleans because I freaking love New Orleans. And we were close enough that we could go over there for just day trips. And there was one day we went into this little metaphysical shop, and I was drawn to some of these pretty rocks, and I got red jasper. And so when I start having creepy dreams and creepy weird shit happening that's waking me up, and then I have this dream about this doll, and I can feel the fucking plastic of this Cabbage Patch head in my hand. There's a little yarn hair, a little patch of yarn hair on the top like they got. Yeah. I was like, that ain't right. Not a fan of that at all. So I was looking through the pretty rocks that I had gotten the last time we had gone to New Orleans, and saw that red jasper was specifically to ward off negative energies, or like that's one of its specific purposes. I was like, okay. Enough said. So I started wearing shorts to bed that had a pocket in them, just so I could keep that on me at all times, at least during when I was asleep. And that was not always reliable, because they were like not bike shorts like I wear now. They're just like regular workout shorts, and the pocket did not hold them half the like it was just one at that time, but it was like hit and miss. But I started keeping it on me all the time, and I started to notice more and more like the toxic shit that my ex was doing. And like when I knew he was fucking with me a lot, like as far as with my head, right? And he would accuse me of doing things, and it's like, okay, like the whole narcissism thing, like they come at you hard and fast and make it so your head's kind of spinning and you don't really know what just happened, but it's very unsettling, right? And like I was getting that all the time, but then I started carrying this red jasper on me, and it's like it was like there was a disconnect, and I could literally see what was happening. And it's like I started to notice, it's like he's just looking for a reaction, don't give it to him, and I was able to stop giving him the reactions. And then it's like, which that kind of pissed him off more, because that's narcissists don't like it when you're supplying them with your energy and then you suddenly pull back, and it's like they're not able to affect you as much. So, yeah, so like it was kind of unhinged, and he would yell at me for something, and like he every single time we got in a fight about anything, he always accused me of walking away, rather than we can't have a conversation because you always walk away. But then I started to realize, it's like he's saying this shit as he's walking away from me. It's like, yeah. And I had, he had done this one night. We were yelling at each other a lot, and he went back into the bedroom, and then I went outside with the dogs, and as I was sitting on the back porch, was like, son of a bitch, he just did that. He was the one that walked out of the room in the middle of that argument. It's like, nah. So I went back in and got in his face. It's like, hey, I said, you said that, but you were the one that was walking away. It's like, don't accuse me of doing this shit. It's like, you walked away first. And then he tries to act like, you know, he's like, making amends of it or something, and does the exact same thing again. It's like, son of a bitch, we're done here. You know, and that was like in the last, I want to say last week or two, because I wasn't going to tell him that I was leaving for a while, and I think he did end up finding out a couple weeks before I left, and I was trying to be nice and civil and, you know, like, talking about splitting things fairly. Okay, first off, dude had 3 vehicles. One of them, the car he had when, he got the car after we first started seeing each other. He had the truck before, and it's an older truck. But it was still decent, but didn't have an AC. There was a bunch of stuff with it. But he had 3 vehicles, right? He had the truck that I had, when I got my TBI and had to, TBI point. Okay, my ex kind of brought on this whole series of negative synchronicities. It was like all these things showing me I was very much not where I was supposed to be. Okay. This is kind of one of those weird dynamics because I was there for the lessons, and that was a necessary part of the journey. But for me and who I am, it's like this whole situation was literally just for the learning experience aspect of it and to help me remember who I am. So it's like the negative synchronicities. It's like there was a bunch of stuff that showed me that I was not supposed to be with him. You know, but then because that was part of my life lessons too, yes, I was supposed to be there, but for who I am, like at like a spiritual level or whatever you want to look at it as, he was not not long-term meant to be in my life kind of a thing, and should not have married him, but because part of what I took on to understand in this lifetime was how people end up in situations they feel stuck in, trapped in, and can't get out of, you know, and how people get so stuck, basically. So, this whole healing journey has been largely wrapped up in this is exactly how that happens, because, you know, toxic family systems that, you know, have you completely bound up and you can't make sense of anything, and then toxic outsiders come along, and because the toxicity is all you've known, that's literally how easy it is. Just, you make bad decisions because you think you somehow deserve it because your life has showed you deserve it in all these other ways. And, you know, that's, like I said, I think the whole purpose of the experience, and I especially feel like with my generation as a whole, you know, we're here specifically to see why these things aren't working. So a lot of us have dealt with like immense apathy and suicidal ideation, like all of these different layers of things, because we're here to transmute that specifically. You know, so part of getting to the point where you can transmute it and turn it into something worthwhile is you still have to go through it and learn the things you're here to learn from it, so you can I mean, basically, we're shaping the new world, right? It's like, these things don't work. This toxic family dynamic does not work at all. And literally is the thing that leads to the toxic political powers that are in place and all that bullshit. So, you know, I feel like we're here to transmute this. And yeah. Now, how did I get there? I watched a video the other day. It's like, hey, I don't think I finished that story. Hey, I don't think I finished that story either. Because it just wandered off. It's like, yep, that's how I work. Going back to the car point. Okay, when the negative synchronicities, I ended up with my ex. We got married. A bunch of bad shit started happening. And one of those was, okay, we got married in November and moved him back in with my parents while we looked for a house to rent together, because his apartment, like, the lease was about up on the apartment, so it was like, just the timing wise, it was easier to move in with my parents and then look from there, just because, like, wedding timing and blah blah blah, whatever, and who cares. So we signed this lease on, okay, we find this house, and it's like 12 minutes away from my parents' house and about the same from his parents' house, because his parents are really close to ours. Our house, like, they're like within 10 minutes. And phone's at 15%. Time to wrap it up anyway. So we find this house. It's like 12 minutes away, and we are signing the lease on the rental agreement with the landlords in the house, and my phone rings. And it's like, I'll get that in a little bit. So I shadied it, and got it stop ringing and all that stuff. We finished what we were doing, which is like a half an hour later. I get to my phone, and it's like the temp agency that I worked for. It's like, oh boy. And within 30 minutes of signing the lease on this house, for this rental house, I lost my job with the temp agency. Not a surprise. I really kind of hated that job. It was at a call center. Me and my social awkwardness. Let me talk to people on the phone. I've always hated phones. So, yeah, I mean, like, this whole YouTube thing's been, like, the thing that's kind of helped me not be terrified of the camera anymore, I guess. But, yeah, like, I've never liked talking on the phone to people. But within a half an hour, I lost my job. Since I was in seminary at that point in time, I said, okay, let me finish out the semester, because it's like, March, and it ended in May. Like, just let me finish out the semester, and then I will focus full-time on looking for a job. And so we did that. We got Ziva in April of that year, and May 8th, classes let out. And May 16th, okay, no, May 14th, I was taking laundry upstairs to my former stepson's room, and I had put a baby gate to keep Ziva downstairs. Ziva didn't like being separated from her mama. She's always been my sidekick. And I put the clothes away and turn around, and she is sitting in the door of this room, wagging her tail and just looking so proud of herself. It's like, oh boy. I should have just let that be okay. I was concerned that she would fall going downstairs. I wasn't sure how she would do that on the stairs. I think that this dog just like leaped over this damn baby gate to get up the stairs to me. I kind of neglected that whole thought process. So I went a few steps down and sat on the steps to see if I could get her to come to me and see how she did on like the first few steps. And she just like looked at me, wagged her tail, and whimpered. So I went back up and I picked her up, and when I turned around, my foot slipped and I fell on the stairs. Didn't even hit my head, but I landed so hard that I cracked my teeth together, and everything went dark. I saw stars. I was still aware of what was going on. I was trying to figure out how I'd hit. I'd had a hold on the banister, and I like had my arm all sore because like I think my wrist got twisted because it was like holding on, and then I just like jerked it down, and that wasn't cool, and then it's like, as I'm processing through everything, it's like, this hurts. Then I was aware of Ziva. It's like, oh God, so I was like immediately more concerned about the dog than I was myself, but I was still seeing stars. So I was kind of trying to figure out, how all that was playing in. So I went from, I was supposed to find a job because, I'd lost my job at the temp agency. And that, by the way, happened on Good Friday. So it's like, I feel like that's kind of a shitty time to tell people, like, to go around and like call people and let them know that they don't have a job anymore. Hey, it's Good Friday, you're getting ready to have Easter, enjoy, but you're fired. So it's like, well, that's kind of fucked up. And it wasn't that harsh by any means, but it's like there's still the idea behind it. It's like, that's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, so it was like just a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. It's like, at the wedding, it's like I had the voice that my intuition was trying to talk me out of it the entire way. And it's like, you don't even like each other, let alone love each other. Why are you doing this? And all right, we'll just take this one as practice. We'll fix it. But yeah, it was just, oh my God. Whole lot of lessons, and I know they will be useful. But okay, that's not the point. So I maxed out the student loans for that semester to pay bills and stuff, so he wasn't trying to fit the bill on everything by himself. And when he took the job that sent him to job training in Germany and then moved us to Alabama, I mean, we had to pay for the move and everything, they didn't pay for that. But before we left, he had a car and a truck, and I had a car. My car would go on to get repoed, and I still have lots of feelings about that because I loved that car, and it was like the first thing that I really did by myself, for myself, and I was like super proud of it. And because, see, that's where it got kind of icky, because he was always making a big deal about how I was only after him for his money and all this bullshit. It's like, I feel like people don't have to look very hard to know that's bullshit. But whatever. At one point, as we were getting ready to make that move, I maxed out another student loan to pay to get the air conditioning replaced in his truck and a bunch of other things, right? So I got that truck ready to move to Alabama. And when it came time to separate, or to like when we were getting divorced, I wanted the truck because I spent so much money on getting it fixed, right? And he made such a big deal about everything that I ended up leaving without a vehicle. And oh my God, y'all, this dude that claims that I was only ever after his money and was trying to, give that story to everybody. When I, was done with the situation and, I was so ready to be done with him that I talked his mom into helping me push him to sign the paperwork so we didn't have to go to court, because I knew all he was going to do was try to make me look and sound crazy, and I had no interest in that. I told her, it's like, if you can get him to sign the divorce paperwork within 4 business days, we will not go to court. I said, if we have to go to court, I will fight. I said, but I don't want to. I'm just ready to be done. I'm ready to be divorced, have it over with, and never contact him again. And she had interest in having it finalized as well, because she is responsible for paying for all of his custody bullshit. So, of course, she's not going to want to have to pay for another attorney, even though he said he wouldn't pay, or he wouldn't need an attorney. He would represent himself, because he was literally just trying to bait me into this, into going to court so he can make me look and feel crazy. And I wasn't interested. And his mom wasn't interested in paying any more legal fees or whatever. So whatever I left with when I left that last time, there's one thing that he ended up bringing up later for me because I requested it. It was like a fish tank stand that has since been sold, by the way. But yeah. Basically what I did was cut the foundation on his his story of how I was only out for his money, because not only did I fix his truck, I'm still having interest collect in the meantime, because I maxed out a fucking student loan to have that help us to get down there. And, he wanted no part of, being separated from his truck. So he got to keep the car that didn't work because he let the transmission go in it. And because when I wanted to use the tax check to fix the car that we already had, he wanted to buy an SUV. So he had 3 vehicles. And that freaking SUV was like a $500 a month car payment. It's like, I want no part of that anyway. Yeah. And when, I had my little delivery job that I was doing for a while, and I've talked about how I got a separate bank account that he didn't know about, because he had one that I had no access to. So why wouldn't that be fair? So I went and got my own, and I had $75 was the set amount every week from this delivery job that went into the joint account. Everything else went to my separate account. And he had no clue that I had done that. And one night we were coming back from a restaurant, and I was in the process of leaving, obviously, because, I opened the bank account and was having the money go separately and all that. But he and his kid were talking about, when my money started going into the bank, we should get a gym membership and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, real good about spending my money and making sure I didn't have access to it, and making me always feel like I was crazy, so I didn't have any kind of awareness of what was actually going on. And then ended up getting my car repoed, because after I spent all this money to fix his truck so we could make this move, then he couldn't bother helping me at all make the car payments in the time I was looking for a job. Ended up with 2 jobs that were like $9 an hour. One was at a daycare and one was at Target. And it's like, yeah, it was like I didn't have enough at one time to make the full payment. So called the bank and talked to the bank, and the guy told me that I could make smaller payments and it would be fine. And because I had TBI and lived with an asshole, I wasn't going to be able to make sense of like the fact that if that situation arises, that money goes to the principal. It doesn't go to the payment. So when it came, I made like, I want to say at least 4 of these $200 payments this way. And then my car got repoed because they applied it to the principal and not to the payment amount. And I got fucked because I didn't know any better. And, everybody in my life, everything in my life was suggesting that I was just like stupid as fuck and couldn't figure it out and all that shit. So it's like, okay, and it's just an ongoing tendency of fucking myself over because so much of my life I've been used to having these connections that were not healthy for me at all, because that's literally like my entire life. That was the biggest connection, right? Was my toxic family and, being, my grandfather and his constant need to point everything out about me that was different and was a problem because we weren't supposed to mess up his family name and mess up his illusion that he's like some, big deal or something. It wasn't no big deal. Fucking asshat. What a ride, y'all. I am glad that man is gone. I'm glad my ex is gone from my life. I'm really ready for, to not be, and to not have all this family shit still ongoing. Because it's a pain in the ass. It's like, I mentioned the other day, that deal with my mom, okay, the deal with the guy that stuck his hand in my car and Taz nipped him. And she was thrilled to death to tell, or to gloat to my father that my dog bit somebody. It's like, fuck you, asshole. It's like the only reason he did that was because some asshat didn't have boundaries and thought he could stick his hand in and pet a dog that was freaking going nuts. It's like, no, that's not the ideal time to try to pet a dog when it's snarling at you and snapping and trying to protect its space. No, that is not the time. And that asshat stuck his hand in the car. And I was so dumbfounded and I was trying to, he's lucky I had a grip on of Taz's collar, because if I hadn't, he probably would have lost a hand the way that his dumbass stuck it in here. But that, and the day before that, when I walked in from walking the dogs, and my mom's all like, I think that's what I was going on. My mom's all like, want to go visit your grandma? And I said, no, I don't. And she just looked at me with the same asshole look that my grandfather always gave me every time he went to look at me and call me out for doing something that was different, or somehow picking at me for what he deemed to be my flaws, because he didn't approve of them or whatever. It's the same damn look as she says, you really don't like your grandmother anymore, do you? I said, that's not it at all. I said, she's just one of the most negative people that I know, and I have no desire to be around that anymore. And then that kind of stopped it right there. But, even then, I feel like she knew that the implication there was, since I don't spend time with her and my father anymore, and I have no desire to, she knows that, that's part of they're in that negative group that I don't want to be around. So my phone is at 9%. I'm trying to figure out I don't know if I covered everything. I didn't have anything specific I was trying to cover or whatever, but while I was skating, that was the biggest thing. It's just I'm really ready to step into this next part of my life. I just don't know how it's all going to work out. God, I'm so ready to get there. I'm so tired of this bullshit. You know, and like, when I came in from outside, and I was getting ready to, okay, I had this shirt on when I was over there, and I had like another shirt on under it, and a regular bra, and I didn't want to skate in my regular bra because I don't want to wash it like all the freaking time, because I sweat in it. You know, if I'm just wearing it a few hours in the day and then taking it off or whatever, it's like, whatever, it is what it is. I'm limited on these things, and I don't want to skate in them and, you know, wrap its time up sooner than I have to. And I had like a tank top I skated in instead. But I think I was getting ready to go get my stuff, and my brother was outside, and I ended up talking to him for a little while. But my uncle, as I was going through, said something about my mom broke her wrist, and Dad took her to the ER. And it's like, yeah, I know. I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, I don't know how I responded to it. I'm pretty sure they get the hint that I kind of don't care, but I mean, I feel like everything I've had to do for this family has basically been to spite myself as well, and I'm tired of that. I'm done with that. I'm not doing that anymore. So, yeah. What comes from just spiting yourself to, you know, appease everybody else? It's bullshit. But anyway, I have these... Oh, that's... While I was skating, I was thinking about that. I watched this Kino tarot reading last night, I think, as I was trying to not freak myself out about this thing tomorrow. And, you know, just after having the anxiety hit me because I'd spent time with my mom. And she was talking about... She said something about if it's like you're pouring out your love potion, and basically, like, all the things you have done in the past to... Uh-oh. My phone is at 5%, so let me just turn this car on and plug it in real quick, like, so I don't lose it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, 4%. I remember what I was saying now. Oh, my stomach's making noises. Don't mind me. Yeah, so she was talking about how, you know, like the love potion basically is talking about all the things you've had to do in the past you thought to make people like you or love you in any kind of way, and you're realizing you don't have to do that anymore. And she said, like, for the people that are meant to be in your life, they're gonna like you no matter what, and you're not gonna have to jump through hoops to be something different just for them to be in your life. And she said we talked about how, like, she said it's kind of, she said when she was caught herself in like one such instance with her current partner, and they were like, what are you doing? You don't have to do that. You know, she said that, like, they'll call you out on not needing to do this thing that you always did because you needed to do it in the past to make people feel a certain way. It's like, I feel all of that, and I'm so ready to not have to jump through this fucking hoops anymore, y'all. It's like, I don't know what's next, but I'm ready to get to the next phase and get out of this shit. You know, put this fucking chapter away and have a life of my choosing that I actually can enjoy for once, since I was never allowed to do that before. But I'm gonna wrap this up since my phone is dying now too, and go ahead and go home and take a shower. And as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.